All right, so hi everyone. We're doing another video in person. So Tom, I know you made like almost like a Svix demo project. I was hoping you could walk me through that.
Oh God, I hope I remember all of it, but let's try.
Yeah.
Cool. So I have it like pulled up here. We use Next.js. First of all, I mean it's nice, but the other reason is that we actually in this same project we have both the sending and the receiving.
Okay.
So kind of like just like have like a full example of like the full workflow. Obviously, we took some creative liberties and like shortcuts and all of that in order to make it, more digestible. But I'm gonna try to highlight those. But so what I'm trying to say, like, use it as a guide, but not as the Bible, maybe.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, I mean, you can see the README. I think it's nice. It kind of like explains like all of that. And maybe I'll read it out for a bit just so like I also get a reminder, a refresher for myself. But yeah, so the first part is kind of like the provider. So, wherever like the Svix customer is like the one actually sending the webhooks. And for them, we put like a few examples. The first one is kind of like sign up, which is where they would create the Svix consumer, like kind of like where they would, to just do an example, because they have their customers want to get webhooks. So where they would be signing up to their service, and like that's where you kind of like want to create the Svix entities.
So I'm the provider. One of my users signs up for a new account, and we want to basically sign them up for us.
Exactly. Yeah, and you can do, we put it as a sign up, but you can do it later on as well. You can do it like when they go to the settings and click like enable webhooks or something like that. But sign up is a good simple example. And the other one is kind of like fake server action. I think the name kind of gives it away, but essentially it's kind of like it just represents some business logic that you have. In our case, we just faked it. But it really can be whatever. And this one, the last part for the provider, is kind of like giving people access to the UI. I'll explain that. So the UI is kind of like, the webhook management dashboard.
Right. So adding webhooks, looking at
adding endpoints. Yeah, exactly. All of that. Yeah. So we have, like there's an API access that you need to make, like, because we don't have any authentication. We don't have any concept of customers, right? Like you have the concept of customers. So like they log into you. So they need to verify. You need to verify, is this person allowed to view the webhooks and like which webhooks for? So it's kind of like that is like kind of like that step. And then we actually, show it in the UI. And we also, like the UI has a sign up and like a dashboard, whatever, but that's kind of like not that interesting. And then kind of like the consumer. So like a webhook is being sent. And we wanna receive it. Yeah. Before we begin, like with the actual example, let me maybe show you this project, like how it looks like when it's actually like running. So we go here, we sign up, like with as
I think you need to show this tab. Yeah.
Sorry. So yeah, we go in, we go here, we actually, sign up. Again, like John Doe, put in a fake password, click sign up, and then it kind of like signs you up, and there you go. Now we have like a customers, we logged in, and we have, this page, which is kind of like our dashboard, and it gives us like the ability to create actions, whatever. Like, I mean, let's create an invoice, and then like let's delete an invoice, and it's just like our activity with the app that is probably going to trigger webhooks. Create another one and another one. Like we're really having fun there. But then we actually want to receive those webhooks, right? So we need to go to like the webhook portal and manage that. So we can go there. It's kind of like loading. Sorry, my internet is a bit slow. I guess it's because of the video uploading.
Probably.
But here you can see we can actually go and like manage the webhook. So we can do example.com. And we do like invoice paid and invoice paid free, whatever. We can create that endpoint. And then we've had it. And we can also like go back and kind of like see, see all of the ones that we sent a moment ago. They're already sent, even though we didn't have any endpoints registered. And like when you click on it, you see there like no attempts. But we do have like all of that kind of like delivery.
Actually, somebody recently asked about this exactly in Slack, I think, right? There's a difference between like the webhook being create message, I think, versus the webhook attempt.
Yeah, so what they wanted this view. They're kind of like, hey, how do we know, can we see the messages before, like, without even like an endpoint? I'm like, yeah, we actually retain all of that. And then they asked exactly what you said, just like the follow up, like, hey, what's the difference there?
Okay.
Yeah. So this is the example. There isn't much to it. Now we can create more invoices. I mean, I guess example.com is gonna fail.
Yeah.
It's probably still attempting it, but sorry. But anyhow, like it's now like sending like the webhooks to example.com and doing that. Cool. Let's go back to the code and see like how it actually looks like in code. So in case you don't know, like the way an Next.js app is structured, you have essentially like pages, which would be, like a page is actually being rendered, and then kind of like the API, which would be like API calls done like by Next.js. They also have like a serverless framework or part to it. Again, I'm gonna, like we have components, we have like stuff like that, but it's nothing interesting. It's just kind of like boilerplate. Yeah. And one thing that's worth noting is we have like the auth. Auth is really like nothing. It's just like hard-coded username. We authenticate, but actually we just get the same username. And then we kind of like post with auth, which is like another helper, which is just making post requests with actually unauthenticated, because we don't need any authentication. But this is like less interesting. Okay, so let's go to the pages. And let me actually, real quick, I'll put that in another tab so I can see, the step-by-step that we go through. Okay, so the first thing is kind of like the sign up. And as you see, I'm going to the provider and the sign up API call.
Yep.
So when someone signs up, like thing, what actually it does, it goes here. And normally we just need to do that. So, like create a Svix instance and then like application create. In this example, we also have this like ugly hack, which was kind of like, okay, we don't know if the application is already exists or not. So we actually, if it does exist, we don't try to create. But if it doesn't, we create. Svix actually also has like a get or create call that you can use. I just decided not to use it in this example because it's kind of like confusing, right? Like, I mean, why would it get or create when it's really just like a create?
So like the get or create is like, you can just like call this one thing and then it'll check if they already exist or not. They it won't do anything.
Exactly.
It'll just get to do the get, and then otherwise it creates them into
so it's kind of like similar to upsert, which does like update or insert, but it doesn't do update. So it's insert or get. If it exists, it doesn't do anything. But then I mean, like at the top, you kind of like do real sign up stuff. You kind of like add it to the system and like all of that, but we don't need any of this in this example. Okay, and then the second thing is fake server action. So again, like we clicked like invoice created or invoice deleted. We just like, these are two examples that can be sent over to us. And all we do, I mean, in real life, again, we're going to create an invoice. We're going to actually like talk to a bank or something, do like fancy stuff. But here we don't need any of that. We really just have like a very hard-coded, if someone clicked the invoice created button, we kind of like do something useful or faking it. And then we send a message to that user, to John Doe. And as you can see here, it's using the username because Svix supports like UIDs. So in addition to the Svix identifiers, so like app _ 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, you can also use your own identifiers. So this way, even though we created the Svix applications, we don't have a database here in this example, but we can just use this hard-coded name and use that interchangeably as an identifier. So kind of like it saves it so people don't need to have a database at all, as you can see here, but also they don't need to store any like Svix tokens on their end. They can just use that kind of like in a database-less manner. But then whatever, some magic happens, some real stuff, we're doing something useful, and then we decide, obviously not here we send a hard-coded payload, but we actually going to send like a useful payload of like what exactly happened. And we sent the event type, so like what is the event being sent? And again, this is something that's hard-coded, and then like the payload, which can be whatever.
I know like normally you need to create the event types. Like, is this like you created one before and it's using it?
So the README, let me just show the README real quick. The README has a note about that, creating the event types, and kind of like show you how to do that. But here I created it ahead of time, exactly for this reason. But this is something that you do kind of like an initial setup. It's not actually part of this example. You can even do it in the UI if you want. So like it's really up to you. Okay, and the last part is application portal access. So application portal is what we see here, which is like the ability to manage your endpoints and manage everything. We need to give them access, and again, like we the provider knows the authentication, right? You know who John Doe is. We don't. We have no idea. So you need to actually do the authentication. So if you can see in this code, we actually do like get user, which is like our fake authentication. And then once we have once they've authenticated that it really is their customer, that it's logged into their system, that wants access to this specific application that is owned by that customer, then they can do like a get application portal access.
Oh, okay.
With this username again, which is the app ID, and then they can kind of like get access. They return a URL, and then we embed that URL in an iframe.
Okay,
which is what you see here.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, the one question I would have: did it fail?
What do you mean?
Like we sent to example.com, but obviously I'm assuming that's actually a real website that somebody owns.
Yeah, but like you never know if the black hole stuff or like but yeah, it would fail.
Well, I mean, I was wondering if you'd want to like send it to a Svix Play endpoint just to see like the payload.
Yeah, sure. I think that would be a nicer example.
Yeah, it's like, hey, like it works,
Yeah.
Or I saw green? Did it work? Did it say succeed on the previous one? Oh no, green is just the 0%.
Yeah, because it just like doesn't have enough data, I think, to actually have like a real error rate at this point. Okay, so actually, because this is
there's use Svix Play. There's a link to use it right there.
Yeah, because like this is a development environment.
Yeah.
We actually give you the ability to just like click here and like use Svix Play.
Okay.
And then let me just copy paste that one. And let's
like just a quick for people who might not know, like Svix Play, what is it?
Oh, so Svix Play is kind of like our webhook debugger helper. Actually, I'll show it real quick.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like we call it Svix Play, so Svix Playground. That's kind of like a short version, but it's really just like our easy way to test, inspect, debug webhooks. And we're going to show exactly how to use it in a sec, but there's like both a UI and an API. So people can use it, for example, to integrate with the test suite or something like that and make sure it works well. Yeah. And then there's like the last part, which is a CLI that lets you, like kind of like tunnel traffic from the internet to like a local testing instance. Yeah. And this way you can kind of like test webhooks very easily.
Like an ngrok.
Yeah, exactly, like ngrok. Okay, so we added this play URL, and now we need to go back to the example. Okay, and now we're gonna create an invoice and delete the invoice, and then we can go to play.svix.com and use the token from earlier. And there you see here, like the two things are sent. And you can also see, like, with the timestamp, the signature, and the identifier, and all of those things that like Svix sends for you in order to do the verification. You can look at the payload. You can really look at everything here, even like the raw version of the payload. So like, like we talked in the previous video for like verification.
For the actual verifying,
Yeah, because like it's very easy to just like, oh, cool, there's like a copy to clipboard button. I'm going to copy that. But that would actually copy it with all the spacing, like the nice thing. And like what you want is you want the raw version. So like to make sure that it really is exactly what was signed. Okay, so that's that for the application portal URL. And again, like here you may, here probably all you're going to do is like authenticate and nothing else. But it's still like, it's up to you, really. Cool. So this is it in terms of the provider. Now, let's look at the consumer. So the consumer, what it does, it needs to verify the webhook signature. Like in order to make sure that it's actually like who we expected is actually going to be the one sending it. We put here like some example schemas of like how the webhook will do. This is oftentimes going to be provided by the provider, and we use the secret, which is like we pass as an environment variable, sorry, as a secret. And then this is the config. So we have to do like body parser is false. That's like the way to do it. And we have examples for like many frameworks, but that's the way to tell Next.js not to parse the payload and really give it to us like as a string.
Okay.
The way it was received. So yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking, because I was saying I did some examples with like the Netlify and the Supabase, and I'm sure if I build one for Next.js, I'm gonna forget that.
Yeah,
it's not gonna work.
Yeah, it's so easy to forget. That's why we have examples, because without that. But yeah, I mean, like we kept the handler very, again, like this is a contrived example just to like explain, like show how things are done. But like so it's a very simple handler. We just check the request method to make sure it's a post request. Again, we talked about it, I think, in the previous video about post being better than get. So like we kind of like expect webhook providers to use that. And then we kind of like we take the payload. This is a toString, but it's taking like a byte array to a string because we assume the body is string in this example. It doesn't like parse or anything like that. And we take the headers. And then we just use the Svix libraries, so people can do like import webhook from Svix, and they can create a Svix instance with a secret. They do verify. Again, ignore all the any's. It just like makes life easier. Like all the casting, like with TypeScript, not recommended in general. Like it's actually going to be like cleaner, like in a real example. But that's here it was easier. And then kind of like if verification fail, we just say bad signature. It could actually verify because of a bad timestamp, but we just want an error.
Yeah.
If you want to know exactly what's going on, you can just add a console error on your end, but you don't want to let the attacker know necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask about that, but I think it's a separate topic.
Yeah, another day. Yeah. And then kind of like you actually want to do something useful with a message. So you can do, if message type is invoice created, do X. If message type is invoice deleted, do Y. And if it's unknown, kind of like say, hey, I didn't even like sign up for this. Like, why am I getting this? And then at the end, we kind of return, 200.
Yeah.
And again, we talked about in the previous video about like being, like what to do inline. Kind of like, do we like we do something useful inline with the webhooks, or do we do it asynchronously?
Yeah.
So much better practice is to go here after you've verified and add it to kind of like a queue on your end and handle it asynchronously. But you can also just do it just here if it's like kind of like a short, like 1 second thing, like just do it in line, it's fine. But that's it. That's the extent of like building it. So this is all you need to do as a consumer. And I just realized I don't think these are actually even used. Oh yeah, no, it is used. So yeah, TypeScript magic. So like essentially the message is like this or that. And then if message type is invoice created, it knows that, okay, it expects like an ID string and an amount number. And if it's invoice deleted, it knows that it should be like an ID string and reason string. So that's like what's done in TypeScript. But that's it. That's all you need to do in terms of the consumer. And then like, again, going back to the provider, all you need to do is have a way to create the app portal, create it when you sign up, and then actually create a message when you...
Yeah, for all the event types that you've set up, just whenever they happen, just fire them off.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, you have, again, like boilerplates, so like, like UI. But, I mean, it's not interesting.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. Well, thanks for showing me. I was thinking I was going to go through it myself, but I think this is actually much more helpful to have you walk me through. So hopefully everybody got a lot out of it, and I think it seems pretty simple, right? It's
I mean that's
not
the idea.
that complicated.
Like I think like I always describe Svix as like an onion, right?
An onion. I actually don't think I've heard this before.
Right? Oh, really?
No,
okay.
I don't think
I do actually always describe it to people, but maybe not to you. Maybe I assume you know Svix well enough that I don't need to describe it to you. No, but like, and the thing is, you just integrating with Svix is really what you just saw, and actually shorter than that. Here it like includes like a lot of boilerplate. It's really just like one API call really to integrate with Svix.
Because the app stuff is already going to be there. Probably, right? Like you're probably going to have your app already.
We even have like a way to do like create message and app in one way. So like kind of like get or create an app and create message in one API call to really just make it like very seamless. And so really it's like super, super easy to integrate Svix, but Svix can do much more. and then kind of like as long, the moment you have it integrated, then you can start like peeling the onion and like, get more and more layers. But like surface layer, like outside layer is like already like more than enough.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks. Anybody has any questions, or you're trying to do it and something's not working? Probably just join the Slack, and Tom will probably answer you.
Yeah.
He's
very
faster
active there. Yeah.
Yeah, he's faster than anybody else to answer these questions. So,
well, I cheat. I have notifications on my phone. So
all right.
Cool. Well, thank you.
Thanks. See you, everybody.
Actually, one thing. Maybe delete the I cheat notifications to the phone part. Let's keep the magic secret.
Yeah.